how are you attacking that with your cold call leads? Like,
So the
how,
cold callers, now I actually have my own company. So I actually train these cold callers myself, right? Because I was using freelancers and stuff like that from Fiverr and stuff. But I'm like, you know
and
what? One of my good friends, he does real estate and he's from that area. So we started with like, hey, can you get me some cold callers? And I'll train them. I was like, man, I'm getting for half the price, right? $3 to $4. There, built a little office, and then we had, a little community there. And I started with, I had 5, then I had 10, then I had 15. And next thing you know, I'm just ramping up, my callers.
let's rock and roll. What's up, JP? All right, we'll get rolling. All right, man. Appreciate you coming on. I've been stoked as soon as we talked the other day and you said you were coming on. I've been excited. If you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? All that good stuff.
Let's make it happen, man. I appreciate you having me. That's the first thing, right? I know you've been doing big things. We shared a stage together in San Antonio, so it was really good meeting you in person. But a little bit about me: I'm 28 years old. I'm a multimillionaire. I became a millionaire in real estate wholesaling. I started 6 years ago, and that's how I built my capital. And now I own 32 properties that are paid off. I own another company that has 73 rental cars for my rideshare company. I have 8 businesses in total, and they all do anywhere from 6 to 7 figures. I have a virtual staffing company. I have about 400 employees there. I do over 10 fix and flips, six-figure fix and flips every year. And yeah, man, just going at it. So
Yeah, dude. When we talked, I was like, I love this dude's mind, like this evil genius mind, just like doing everything. And I just had to like extract that for everybody to kind of see it. How'd you get started? Like step one into everything you're doing now?
gotcha. So man, I got started in real estate wholesaling. So what I was doing, I was actually delivering pizzas, right? While I was delivering pizzas, one day I was like, I'm gonna stop listening to music. I'm gonna listen to educate myself, right? So I went on YouTube, typed in how to make money in real estate because I know the most millionaires are made in this business in real estate. But I was like, how do I get started? So I was gonna get my license and do that route, but then I just typed in how to make money in real estate, and Brant Daniels came up, and he was talking about wholesaling real estate and how you can make money without having a license, without having any education, and you could do this virtually. So that's what I did. I bought a list for $300, followed his script, started calling. 8 months later, right? So it took me 8 months of calling nonstop. 8 months later, I finally closed my first deal, and I made $2,000. But it wasn't about the money; it was about proving the concept, right? So I understood. I'm like, hey, this actually works, right? And then what I did was I went all in. So that's how I got started. That's how I built all my capital. And then from building all that capital and wholesaling, then I started acquiring properties. I started doing fix and flip, Airbnb, started investing in different companies, started different companies and all that good stuff.
Heck yeah, man. And you mentioned education in there. And I've noticed I'm a course junkie. I buy everybody's courses. If they come on this podcast, they come anywhere. First, I'll support them. Second, I just love to absorb. And I
Yeah.
see you in all of those communities. Every single one, I see your name in those. So when you said you'd listen to everything, you're still just an active learner, right? How important is that, you think?
You have to be, man. Because the thing is, even if you learn one new nugget from someone else, that one new nugget is priceless. Because the thing is, you're not gonna learn that one nugget from anywhere else, right? So if even if the course costs $1,000 or $5,000 or a few $100, whatever the case may be, even if you learn that one thing and you start implementing that one thing in your business, give you 10x returns. So it's like you said, course junkie, because you're always learning. In life, you always have to learn. If you don't learn, then you stay stuck. So. Same with me, man. I spent over 6 figures just on education. So you have to.
And 8 months to get a deal and you stuck in there. And I tell everybody that I'm like, if you can survive, if you could just survive till you get rolling, but not everybody does. Like how was that? 8 months, no paycheck.
Man, so the thing is, I knew most millionaires are made in this business, and whenever I went to these events, I met other older people that were millionaires, right? I made a lot of money in real estate, or I do this, I do fix and flips, and I'm like, okay, so if I want to fix and flip, if I want to build my own portfolio, if I want to do what these guys are doing, I need to start from the bottom. And what's the bottom? Wholesaling. Go direct to the homeowner, talk to them, try negotiating a price, and if the deal's too good to be sold, I could take it down and build my portfolio. I could do the fix and flip. I'm gonna have more margins there. right? But in the beginning, I didn't have capital. So I was like, let me sell these contracts to these investors that are doing all this, that are fixing and flipping, buying and holding, and doing all this stuff. And eventually, once I build enough capital, I could do the same thing. So that's how I started my journey, man.
Okay, and just to keep going, man, I'm gonna just keep hounding because you got a lot going on. Money, I know you do a lot with money too. So how did the capital look then, and how are you raising it for yourself and other folks now?
Man, back then, so I come from after high school, I got into IT, right? So I was in information technology. I'm a business analyst. So I had a high six-figure paying job, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I was a slave to a 9 to 5, and I had to leave my family for that opportunity, right? I live in Chicago, and I had to leave my family and go to Kansas City, Missouri, right? So I left everything, and even if you're making six figures, yeah, you're making 125,000 after paying taxes. Now you're left with 70 after your rent, your expenses, your car, your this, your that. What do you have to show for it? You have nothing. 10,000, less than that, 20,000, and then everything like adds up. Your bills and expenses add up. So nowadays you need six figures just to survive. If you have a family, you have a wife, you have kids, that 100,000 is just to keep the lights on, right? So I was like, I can't just have that. I need to do something else. So then I came back and I left that job completely, and I was like, let me figure something new out. And then I just, on the part, on the side, I was like, let me just deliver pizza, make some money, and then figure out something else, right? So, because man, it's time consuming. IT stuff was time consuming. It's overwhelming, and it's just like you have to hit targets, and it's just, not everyone's meant for, that in that industry, right? And then I figured out, I was like, man, this is not for me. I'm not happy. I'm not, anyway, I was like depressed while working. Yeah, I'm making money, but I'm just like, man, I hate my life, right? While doing it. So while I was doing that, I was like, I gotta find another route. And that's what I did. I got into real estate. I did other things in the side. Like I found, got into like e-commerce. I tried that out. I tried cell phone cases and stuff like that. I tried that out. Tried moving motorsports. I tried all different types of things, right? And then came to real estate wholesaling, and I was like, this is where the millions are made. This is like the people, and the biggest thing is your surrounding. So if I'm going to the events and I'm surrounded by people that are millionaires or that are making money in this business, guess what? You're gonna want to, you see results like, wow, this guy actually has results. So let me just stay patient, stay consistent, stay motivated from, what I see, and just keep going. And that's how I, you know, was in the business for 8 months. A lot of people quit, man. A lot of people quit after 2, 3 months. Like, hey, this doesn't work. This is not working. I'm out. So I was like, you got to have some type of motivation, and you need to have a good circle, a good surrounding of people that are actually doing what you want to do.
And what about funding for your deals starting out? So you were making money wholesaling, but were you spending all that, to buy these houses, or were you borrowing money? How'd that look?
So in the beginning, I was just building capital. As soon as I had a nice $100,000 saved up, that's when I started buying properties. Because the thing is, in my religion, I can't take any interest, right? And in Islam, I can't take any interest. I can't take any loans, anything like that. So everything I have to do is all cash. So, and I couldn't buy in a nicer neighborhood, right? So it's like with 150,000, you really can't do much. You can't buy a $300,000 house cash, right? And I couldn't do the 3% down, 5% down route. So I was like, you know what? If I'm buying, and I can't spend all my money because I'm gonna go broke. So I was like, okay, let me buy properties in the hood, right, for $20,000, $30,000, stuff like that. Where I could just do a light rehab and put a tenant in there, do Section 8. So that's what I started off with. I bought my first property for 10,000, right? That was a condo in the South Side of Chicago. So I bought that, and and ever since then, just bought little. I built my capital from wholesaling and to keep buying assets, and now I have over 30 properties. So.
That had to be pretty scary. I know that the first time I went to Chicago, I was like, man, these properties down there in the hood are cheap. I got out and I knocked on a door, and my girlfriend was like, get back in the car. And I was like, what? This house is exactly what I want. She's like, we do not need to be over here. But anyway, how was that like working down there starting out? That's crazy.
Man, in the beginning, you have to do what you have to do, right? So it's just like you don't care. You're like, man, I don't care if I'm in the trenches. I don't care if I fit in or not. If they want to sell, let me get under a contract. Let me figure things out. So yeah, it was scary, man, but it was like, I had to do what I had to do. I wouldn't do it now at this point, like, but now like all the properties that we have, it's all managed by a property management company. I don't even go to that side of town, so. But in
That's
the beginning, yeah. In the beginning, man, I had to beat up Toyota Camry, so I was like, fit in. Now, we're driving. nicer cars, and so we can't really go down there. So
Yeah, and I noticed that you've been scaling. Social media is a heck of a thing, and I know you got you a team, an office, stuff like that. How are you recruiting and all that, man? Are you getting some pretty good talent? Do you have any advice on how to do that?
yeah, so I'll go over like my marketing channel and how I basically have my company structured. So I hire acquisitions in-house. I don't get anyone overseas, right? So these acquisitions, what I do, I give them a base salary, right? It could be anywhere from $24,000 a year, right? Which is like $2,000 a month. That's what the base salary is. And then you give them 15% commission, right? Of everything they close on the assignment side. So you got to keep them busy though. And how do you keep them busy? I got 5 cold callers dedicated per acquisition. So I get cold callers overseas for $4 an hour, right? And they bring about 2 warm leads per day. So now I have about 10 warm leads coming in per acquisition. And what they're doing, they're building rapport, negotiating, and signing contracts, right? Once they have it under contract, we dispo it out. So we're keeping these guys busy. So right now I have 6 acquisitions in-house, and I have about 30 cold callers. We're ramping it up though. We're trying to get, up to, um, you know, 10 acquisitions, 50 callers, and all that good stuff. And each acquisition should make you anywhere from 4 to 500K a year, right? So if you get 5 callers in one acquisition, that formula is $500,000 right there. So that's how I have it set up right now. So
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah, heck yeah, man.
even
What about
last year,
Dispo? How you doing Dispo?
this
Yeah,
investor lift, and I have my VIP buyers that bought 30, 40 properties from me. They're those guys are good. They buy deals from us too. So I have a VIP list and then investor lift,
awesome,
just
man.
a second route if they don't
So,
want to
so
buy.
are you a targeted? Are you like a reverse wholesaler? Or are you just kind of whatever your leads take you and then you're blasting it out, or how's that look?
There's both ways. For our VIP buyers, we know their criteria, right? So if they tell me, hey, I'm buying 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom in Dalton, Illinois, right? Okay, cool. That's their criteria, right? It doesn't matter if it's vacant, doesn't matter if it's a fix or flip, or even if it's rented out. That's their criteria. Now I'm gonna do 3 beds, 2 baths in Dalton, that zip code. Cool. And anything I get under contract, that's going to my VIPs because I know they pay top dollar because they're investors, right? And then everywhere else nationwide, like Texas, all over Texas, Missouri, Kansas, Wisconsin, Indiana, all over Midwest. Like we just basically pull certain zip codes that we know that are hot, and then like the metropolitan areas, we'll put them and then put on investor lift. So we're really good with Liam on investor list. He'll tell us like, hey, this is hot right here. You got to go here, or this you got to be in this area, right? So Robert's a great help too. So these guys, they know what they're talking about, and they have data to prove it. So if hey, 800 properties got sold this quarter in this certain area, hey, we got to be in this quarter. We got to be in this state, or 300 properties or 80 properties sold here. This is a hot market. This is moving. We got to be in this neighborhood. So with that being said, we go off data. So
Cool, man. And as far as I know you use Investor Lift for dispoing, but leads, I know you're doing cold calling. Is it anything else, PPC, anything like that, or are you just straight cold calling?
direct marketing. We used to do PPC, we used to do SMS, and now allow all these regulations on SMS and RVMs. And we used to do that, a few years back. And the same thing with PPC right now. If you do the math on PPC, a lead costs anywhere from $150 to $170, right? And on a conversion, if the metrics are every 8 to 10 warm leads is a contract when it comes to PPC. So if you do the math, you're spending about $2,000 for a contract when it comes to PPC, $2,000 to $3,000. On cold calling, I'm getting 2 warm leads per day, and every 28 to 30 warm leads is a contract. And I'm spending like $700 per cold caller a month, and I'm getting 2 contracts a month, right? And the conversion on, cold calling is every 20 to 30 leads. So now the cost per lead is way cheaper than cost per contract and PPC. So that's why we only focus on cold calling and we go all in. So
So starting out in your wholesale business, what would you have done different? Now you have your KPIs, your metrics, you're starting to build a team, you have a clear vision. So now it's just rinse and repeat and grow. What would you have done early on if you knew what you did now?
it's all about the metrics, right? If I knew these metrics before, I would do the same thing. I would hire 5 cold callers. I would start with 1, that's what the budget would be, and then eventually get to 5, and then the same formula: 5 callers, 1 acquisition, 5 callers, 1 acquisition. Keep multiplying that. That's the winning formula. And then if you want, you could add a lead manager manager, which is like the follow specialist. You could add him to do all the follow-ups with all the, the warm leads that wanted to sell 30 days, 60 days, 3 months from now. He's just doing all the follow-ups and pushing it to the acquisition. And the acquisition is only talking to the warm leads, the hot leads, right? People that actually want to sell their properties. So they're not wasting their time for 8 hours a day not getting contracts. Because they have to give, the metrics are you have to give at least 3 contracts per day per acquisition. So, for them to hit that metric, you got to make sure they're only talking to warm prospects.
I like that, dude. And you briefed over zip codes, your areas, what are hot areas, what are data in these areas, and you said you're big on data. Would you mind breaking that down for people that say, hey, you know what, maybe I want to get into a market, I don't know which one I should get into? How would they look at that data, or how are you looking at it?
So I just go off. There's 2 people that I use that tell me, hey, this is what you have to be in, right? First is Investor Lift. They'll tell you which markets. If you tell them, hey, I live in Ohio, I want to be in my backyard. Okay, they'll tell you, hey, Cleveland's moving this. This is moving this. This part of Ohio's moving this. Whatever the case may be. Which one do you want to target? Like, hey, the one that's moving the most, right? The one that's moving the most, you'll target that one. So that's the one that you're going to be doing. And then if you suppose you want to do it virtually, right? When you're doing it virtually, now you could do it to where what property is selling in other places, right? So it's like, suppose you want to do it virtually and you want to do it in North Carolina, right? Well, I want to do North Carolina, but which zip code of North Carolina? Same thing. I use Josh Chan, which is kind skip tracing. He's a data scientist. He'll tell me all the metrics for that. Or you could use Investor Lift. They already have data for many years now, and they'll tell you, hey, what's moving. So you got to see what's moving. You can't just enter a boomdock area that has nothing moving, no investors are buying there, and you're just locking up deals. You're not gonna sell them. You're wasting your time. So you need to be in markets that actually have transactions. So that's what we do. So
How are y'all? And this is gold, man, pure fire. How are y'all attacking these new markets? It's okay when you're established in a certain market, but you're like, you know what? Investor Lift data says we need to be here. How are you attacking that with your cold call leads? Like, how are your cold callers?
So the cold callers, now I actually have my own company, right? It's called AK Callers. So I actually train these cold callers myself, right? They're $4 an hour. So I went to Egypt. I started hiring for my own self, for my own business, because I was using freelancers and stuff like that from Fiverr and stuff. I'm like, you know what? Let me try, because I'm familiar with the country, and I've been there many times. And one of my good friends, he does real estate, and he's from that area. So we started with like, hey, can you get me some cold callers, and I'll train them, because they're very affordable compared to paying $6 or $8, somewhere else. I was like, man, I'm getting for half the price, right? $3 to $4. So I'm like, okay. So I flew down there, built a little office, and then we had, a little community there. And I started with, I had 5, then I had 10, then I had 15. And next thing you know, I'm just ramping up, my callers. And then, due to social media, I'm helping other people with their cold callers as well, right? And they're all trained by me. So now, I have like 430 cold callers that we train in mass, and they're all experienced. And what the script is they're just trying to find people that want to sell. So this is what it is. The cold callers do this. If you don't have money to buy cold callers, I recommend using the same script. The script goes like this. Hey, how's it going? I'm local in the area. I'm a local investor in the area, and I'm looking to buy some properties. Are you interested in selling? Cool. Awesome. If they say yes, green light. If they say no, you move on. Don't be discouraged. Keep moving. It's a numbers game. You got to keep going, right? If they do say yes and you get a green light, now what you do, okay, is it vacant or occupied? Figure that out. Is it vacant or occupied? So now you know what you're doing. Once you have that, confirm the basic information, beds, bats, all that good stuff. And then what we do a 20-80 rule. This is what I teach them, right? So 20% of the time, you're talking about the property. 80% of the time, you're talking about the why. Why do they even want to sell in the first place? Once you figure out the why, now you have a motive. Now you know what they actually want, why they want to sell the property. And that's how you basically solve a problem. Because wholesaling is not a real estate company, it's a sales and marketing company, right? Once I know, you know, Travis, I know that you want to buy a black t-shirt. You're like, man, I love black t-shirt, fitted, this and that. I know what to do, right? I know your why. I know, the problem that I need to solve. And if I come to you, I'm like, hey, look, I got this Armani or Louis Vuitton black t-shirt. I know this is your favorite color. I'm solving your problem. Hey, I actually do like this. Let me buy this, So now, same thing with the sellers. If you solve their problems, hey, I understand you want to sell your property due to this reason. I can make it happen, but it has to make sense for us too. Because there's 2 things that we do. We buy, fix, and flip, or we buy, fix, and hold, right? So the numbers need to make sense for us. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Seller, I know that you're looking to sell, but it has to make sense because we're looking to make money as well. You understand where I'm coming from, right, Mr. Seller? Okay, cool. You know, so you got to figure out the why, and then you got to let them know, hey, we're here to solve a problem, but to solve this problem, it has to work for both parties. So that's what we train our callers. And then once it comes to our acquisition, it's a game over. We close them out, you know? So
Hell
that's,
yeah. That's some fire, dude.
yeah, appreciate you.
JP, let's open it up for Q&A. What you got, man?
Man, I appreciate you coming on. It's kind of funny. Your intro journey is kind of the one I'm on right now. So it's been a couple months. Had a couple deals locked up, fell through. Got two in the pipeline right now. Still working on closing that first one. So it's a grind, but we're still keeping it. We're still keeping at it. I would say my biggest thing is, when you had your first couple cold callers, you might have to think back to it. What was your biggest, I guess, lesson that you learned on hiring them? I'm working on training a few of my own up, and kind of leaning out that process. But what was your biggest lesson learning on training the cold callers themselves?
First thing is, man, you got to keep your head up, right? I know you have a few deals under your contract, a few deals under your belt. They're gonna close. It's just when the right time comes, they're gonna close, right? So don't ever be discouraged when it comes to, things falling off, right? Things not going through. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, man, as a business owner, you're doing everything yourself. Like same thing that I was going through. Okay, if I'm training someone on how to cold call, I'm taking time out for my day to actually do money producing activities, which is acquisition, which is actually closing deals, right? So it's like you gotta understand, if you gotta see what brings you a good ROI, right? Training people was a headache and a half for me, right? So what I did in the beginning was I used to train so many people, and it was like I wasn't getting enough deals because I wasn't on the phone making the calls. As a business owner, you're doing everything. You're the guy that's pulling the data, the guy that's running the comms, the guy who's closing the deals, A to Z, right? So what I recommend, find someone, start delegating, right? I wish I did this earlier. I wish I started delegating everything, right? With virtual assistants. Okay, have this virtual assistant do this, because cold calling is a $4 an hour job. And training them, like I hired a trainer afterwards, right? I was like, hey, this is how we train. Cool. I had one guy that was, the guy I trained. I told him, hey, can you train the other callers? Because I don't have time, right? I'll jump on once a week, once every other week for an hour, with my lesson, but I need you to supervise these cold callers. If you're hiring cold callers, don't spend too much time on training them. Train one guy, right? Make him up to par, and then have him train your rest of your team. And then you focus on the money producing activity, which is actually closing deals, because that's what's going to get you paid. You training, you doing this, you doing that, it's not going to get you paid, right? So you need to focus on closing, right? Talking to warm leads. So that's what I would do different. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, buddy. What you got, Chris?
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, that's fantastic, man. You gotta look. I got props for you, buddy. All right, so I reckon my question would be: so whenever you start doing wholesaling, and then you're getting into Airbnb and you're doing everything else, how do you even out everything and kind of figure out where you need to put your most time in on each project?
So first thing, you got to focus on one project, right? Once you have to scale that one operation to 7 figures first. So that's what I did. I went heavy on just wholesaling. Once I built enough capital, that's when I was like, okay, let me dabble into other ventures, other things, right? So what I would recommend, if you're not making at least $50,000 a month on wholesaling, 50,000 is a good amount, but if you're not making at least $20,000, $30,000 on wholesaling every month consistently, I wouldn't even dabble into anything else. So that's what I did. Once I was making, like, for Airbnb, I didn't start Airbnb until I had a good amount of money, right? Because furnishing a property costs like 7,000, right? Just to furnish it. And then your first month, you don't make any money. Then you got your security. Then you got your first month in the security. That's another, $3,000 gone there. And then after that, you start building traction. But you don't get an ROI in Airbnb until like your 6th month, right? Your 5th or 6th month. That's when you get your money back for your furnishing cost, for A to Z, for your management, your this, your that, all those expenses, right? So like what I did was focus on one business, go all into that business. Once you have enough cap, you'll know. And once you automate the company, that's what I did. I automated my wholesale company. I was like, okay, cool. I have an acquisition. I have the formula. I'm going to take myself out the business, and the business is still going to run itself because I have these systems and processes in place and people in place. Then I started looking at other things. So if you're looking into other things right away, I wouldn't recommend that. Focus on one business, go all in, make yourself a millionaire in that business. Then you'll know when the time's right for you to be like, hey, I think I got some time in my hands. Let me do something else.
Okay. So I'm a contractor now, and I've got into. I was flipping houses for other people. Now I'm
Nice.
flipping them for myself, and I'm in my
Nice.
first flip.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Congrats to that. So yeah,
Yeah.
once you do a few flips, then I would recommend do a few flips and then have like a GC. Now he's managing everything. Now you have enough time in your hands. Now you could start other businesses, right? So that's what we did. Right, me and my brother, that's what we did. We're like, okay, we automated the wholesale company. Cool. Let's get into fixing and flipping. Because I'm not a contractor. I don't know anything about fixing and flipping. So like, how do I automate this fix and flip? I have the capital, right? Where if I put 100K, it's not gonna hurt the bank. Okay, cool. Let me grab something. Let me get a GC where he can manage the project, because we got burnt many times before because I didn't really know how to fix and flip. In the beginning, you learn, you live and you learn, right? You get gypped by contractors. You get your guys running away with your money, with your material, or not doing the job, completely, and it's a headache and a half, right? So we figured out, we're like, hey, if we do anything, we got to make sure systems, processes, and the right people in place so we could delegate and automate this company before we do other things. So I would
That's
recommend,
awesome, man.
yeah,
Yeah, dude. Hey, I
delegate,
appreciate it.
yeah, delegate and automate your company first, and then
Okay.
yeah. So you'll know when, start slowly. You're doing everything yourself. Put the systems in place, put the process in place, start hiring the right people, and then whatever your role is for the company, find someone that could do at least 50 to 60% of that, of your responsibility. So now what you're doing, you're just overseeing the business. So then what I do with my 8 companies, I just oversee my business. Okay. Is the wholesaling is good? Let me just track the metrics. Cool. My fix and flip's going good. Cool. Oversee. Airbnb, oversee. Like I have managements in place where I don't work in the business, I work on the business. Right. So until you could work on the business, you don't start a new business.
Okay.
You got a patent,
Awesome.
bro. Nicole, what you got?
Hey, how are you? So I guess my question is just like on the an investor lift, what functions do you guys use? I assume you pay for like the top premium tier.
Yeah, so we're a cartel boss. So it's like 50K a year, and that gives you access to every single cash buyer nationwide. So there's like 3-4 different tiers. We started with the basic package. I think it was like $5,000 a month, which is like good for your local market. And then we got I think it was called Falcon mode, which is like 12,000, I think. And then we went to the $36,000 package. And then once it's like stages to it, right? Once you close, if you're doing 1 or 2 deals a month, do the basic package. Once you start leveling up, once you start doing 10 plus deals, then you just automatically just get the bigger and better package. Yeah, and then the bigger and better package comes with more features, more buyers, more access, and all that good stuff.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Appreciate the heck out of you for coming on. Any plugs you have? I know you have several companies. Feel free to plug them. Tell people where they can find you.
Gotcha. So you can find me at iHustleBro. I'm on every single platform: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, A to Z, right? And then for the companies, for my students, these are the companies that I recommend, right? When they pay me for like the mentorship and stuff like that, this is what like the structure that I give, but I'm going to give it to you guys for free. The systems and processes. So what I use for my CRM is called Mamba CRM. It's owned by Brandon Blue Notes. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's a heavy hitter in the industry. And for comping, I use PropStream and Batch Leads. That's what I use for comping. Those are phenomenal tools. For data, I use PropStream and kind skip tracing. And then for cold callers, I use AK Callers, which is my company, right? Which now I have fully trained cold callers for $4 an hour. You don't have to pay. There's no deposits. There's no upfront costs or anything like that. You pay as you go, and that's what it is, right? So you could use those. Those are like the 4, 5, softwares that I use, that I still use to scale my business, and I help other students of mine scale their businesses as well. So implement those things, those systems and processes in place, and go crazy.
Thank you so much, man. You have a good evening.
You too. Appreciate you.
See y'all.